Okay, welcome to Lathe Basics 101 for people who don't know anything about lathes like me. So the problem is I have created my lathe table. I think I've shown you this last time, but now I've finally bent. That's the back skirt protection, and I've done the front one bent down as well. But the problem I've got is, if you remember in the first video I did about the table, there's a little step here between where this is bolted down and where this is bolted down. And the problem is that, of course, you can sort of see it. There's a little bit of bowing both here and here, and you'll be able to see this better with a level. So you can see there's a gap there, so the table is out of level in more than one direction. There's no real easy fix for this, but what I'm thinking of doing, see, there's three bolts here. There's a number of bolts at the front and a number at the back, but on the side there's only three. So this bolt here and its counterpart on the other side basically define the center of this table. And what I'm thinking of doing is of taking the disc cutter and basically cutting a line there, which would allow all the pressure from here to dissipate, and possibly also a line here, which would mean that the central plate is then only held down by these two bolts, one here and one on the other place. And I can then hopefully bolt it down, and it would be more level than it currently is. You can see even across, the bowing there is pretty extreme. It's like very noticeable. So hopefully if I cut those lines down, the back skirt will still be supported by these bolts, the front skirt will be supported by the bolts, and then I can if need be, use the old Kurgan secret method of flattening. But the idea is that I want to try and get this table as level as possible, because obviously if your table is not level, then your lathe is not level, and if your lathe is not level, then you end up having problems. So I want to try and get this as close to level as possible, and I can't think of another way to do it than this, really. Obviously the legs are also slightly wrong dimensions, but that's no problem. I mean, it's easy enough to cut off a little piece of a leg or whatever. And then of course the floor where this is going to go is not perfectly level either, so there's going to be a little bit of shimming, I think, to make sure it is level. And I think I'll start with possibly one cut and see how that goes, and then give you an update. Alright, so first cut done, and you can see, you know, how it's bulging out, whatever. But the encouraging thing is that when I put the level on it, see, if I leave it just resting on it, it's got that little gap. But if I squish it down, it's basically, it's level, at least this half. And there's no play on the end of the level. So it seems that my proposed solution would work, and the bottom skirt is solidly attached. It's not going anywhere. So I'm thinking to do the same at the top, and then hopefully, I think the best thing to do then is, hopefully there's no bowing in the long direction, which I don't think there is, because it should be pretty solid. If there is, what I need to do is then possibly take one of these bolts out, make sure that I flatten the metal, and then re-drill this slightly. But for now it'll do. I think I'm gonna do the other cut, and then the next thing would be basically putting the lathe on first, because the lathe is only held by two bolts. You'll see here's the tray, and it's only got the one hole there and the one hole there, and the same on the lathe. There's only one bolt holding the lathe down on each side. So I think if I do that first centrally, then the rest should be pretty level. But before I actually put the lathe on, I'm gonna have to adjust the legs so that it's as level as I can get it, and then whatever adjustment I need to make will be with little metal shims, or possibly I could go to the hardware and see if they've got anything that hooks up to the bottom of the legs, and I can adjust it like with some kind of a screw-in type mechanism. Anyway, we'll see next cut next. Alright, second cut is done, and when I squish the level on it, it seems to be pretty level in any direction throughout. Just one little thing for the free energy enthusiasts. You see there all those little metal filings? For some reason I noticed that when I cut things with the little metal cutter or grinder, whatever you call it, it magnetizes the metal parts that I'm cutting, get somewhat magnetized, and I'm wondering if that has to do with the spinning effect of it. Don't know why, but that's my instinctual thing that I think about. And I just want to see if I can get the pencil. There we go. You can see if I poke this stuff with a pencil, it's loose, you know. It's just metal filings that are getting magnetized from the action of the cutter on it. And this happened after I cut the second part, so seems to have worked its way across the sheet, which is quite wide. I mean, it's about 1.5 feet wide, 40 centimeters, 41 centimeters actually. Anyway, so that's hopefully going to resolve my leveling issue on the actual table. I need to sort out the leveling issue on the legs, and then I was thinking to probably put maybe a brace across here and possibly even across there to stabilize the legs even more. I don't know if to weld it or bolt it. I'll figure that out in a minute.